Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this year-end video report presented by HP Learning Studios and Fairchance Learning. My name is Titus Ferguson, and I am an instructor with Fairchance. I have had the opportunity to work with HP Learning Studios several occasions over the last school year, and it has only helped to expand my belief that when unconventional and creative thinking meets empowering technology and opportunity, innovative and lasting impacts are felt in our classrooms, in our communities, in our families, and beyond. So I've experienced that benefit and the potential that the HP Learning Studios and their suites of technology have had, and I'm excited to share some of the examples of the work that's been done, the outputs, and the results with you in this video. So we hope that the video both inspires and excites you about the potential, about the opportunity of the HP Learning Studios. I hope that you'll share them with your networks. If you do have ideas, please get in touch with us, inspirations you have, how you've seen the Learning Studios transform your classrooms, anecdotes and stories about your students and the way that they've adopted the technology as well. So the HP Learning Studios are part of a greater global initiative called Digital Promise, and it's built upon a number of guiding principles. The first being that networks are what connect people and ideas. Pretty basic. Importantly, though, it's the stories that inspire our ideas and are what lead to action and impact and outcome. Narrative-driven education. The stories of success, the story of challenges, the story of opportunity is where inspiration begins. Of course, then research is what informs and grounds and supports the decision making around the Digital Promise platform and innovation. And finally, that engagement, direct engagement, motivates lifelong learning for life, feeling that you're a part of creating something, having an impact, making a difference, and not on the sidelines. Now, these four principles are critical then to the way that the HP Learning Studios are built and how they deliver their programs. So the Digital Promise enables the intersection of education leaders, education researchers, and technology developers to improve their learning opportunities for everyone who has an opportunity to be educated, which is all of us. And then to close what we'll call the digital learning gap. We believe in the Digital Promise supports this idea that when all learners have equitable access to technology, when everyone participates, and therefore when everybody learns, we all benefit from a more engaged, informed, and just society. In that vein and in that framework, the HP Learning Studios are a specific place to create these intersections. They're an opportunity for students to define their problems they want to solve and then design solutions to address those. Designed specifically, therefore, to encourage student-centered experiential learning. Students identifying the challenges, students evaluating that challenge to establish if it is answering the right questions, if the right questions are being asked, and then for students creating the solutions. Using the HP Learning Studio, students are able to develop the skills and the competencies such as design thinking, engineering, and digital communication, the skills that are so critical when we talk about the digital learning gap. So using devices like the HP Sprout Pro, the Dremel 3D40 printer, a class set of HP ProBook X360s, Makeys, the software such as Tinkercad and Capture 3D, MS Paint 3D, a full suite of integrated hardware, software technology, taking things from idea to prototype to potentially finished product. The HP Learning Studios are designed to help and to remove the barriers and the challenges that stand between the spark of imagination and the, hey ma, look what I just did. A crucial element to the success of the HP Learning Studios is the support that's provided for educators from the very beginning of the HP Learning Studios adoption. So in partnership with Fair Chance Learning, educators are provided with 2 days of on-site intimate training that's then complemented with further learning opportunities, both in person and online. So they have the opportunity to be a part of HP's online learning community, and they get access to creative learning activities, projects, lesson plans for students. They're supported as challenges arise, as opportunities for collaboration outside of their specific school and across their school boards. And I'll tell you a little bit more about some of those opportunities later on in this video. So the Learning Studios are built around a challenge-based learning model. It's an approach to learning coming from the Digital Promise Global approach and the philosophy we talked about. And it is about building scenarios that create opportunities for students to learn while solving real-world challenges and creating relatable experiences. So specifically, the program fuels collaboration between students, teachers, families, and community members to identify big ideas, ask thoughtful questions, investigate further, and solve challenges. So the goal is to take learning beyond the four walls of a classroom and to create a more holistic and complete learning experience. And into this space, the Learning Studios fits into as a piece of the puzzle by providing the technical equipment and the infrastructure that enables those students to work through their challenge, from challenge identification through to solutions and final product. So the Learning Studios are currently in place at over 70 schools across the globe, and Canada is able to host 5 of these locations currently. In Ottawa at the All Saints High School, in Langley, BC at the Stafford Middle School, at Green Valley in Granville, Manitoba, at Fallingbrook Middle School in Mississauga, and at the W.H. Ford Elementary School in Regina. So I'm going to share with you some of the particular projects and the successes from each of these schools later in the video. So there's some amazing work being done by students, by teachers, by collaborations across schools in contexts that students might not normally have an opportunity to be a part of, but have been through the HP Learning Studios. So very excited to share that with you. In order for you to understand the way that the students have used the technology, it's important for us to define the design process that the students will go through. And it starts in that same way of defining the problem. So students, when they use the HP Learning Studios, when they're engaging in challenge-based learning, they're starting in the definition. They're starting to define a problem and then identify what they would need. They would need what culture would need to change, what resources might be required by a user to begin to solve that problem. And moving into brainstorming, through to prototyping, evaluation, sharing what they've done, because we work in the commons, we work in collaboration across schools, across regions, and so being part of the global impact of this work. Important to note here that the first 3 to 4 steps of the design process, of the engineering design process, are a discussion stage. They're a review stage. They're looking at the evaluating the work and moving then into building, creating, be it digitally or physically. And the HP Learning Studios enables that type of work, enables students to quickly sketch ideas, to pull inspiration, static photos and dynamic videos and web pages and examples, 3D models, or what have you, before they move into creating their own. We often will look at how do we build out very inexpensive and quick mock-ups and prototypes, be it digitally or physically, and the Learning Studio supports that method of working. So how we brought together the HP Learning Studios and the global Digital Promise global approach was through a Design for All challenges, where students, again, using the challenge-based learning, are looking at how can they design or redesign facets of everyday life to be more equitable, more inclusive, and more accessible for the people in our community who may often be marginalized, not thought of, or not included in advancements in either technology, call it social progress, or other ways. So Design for All is empowering students who are creative, who are encouraged about opportunity, to think about people who may be feeling marginalized and unable to have full access to society's resources in the way that others are. So they particularly gain deep subject matter knowledge, and they develop their skills that are going to be applicable for future careers that they're going to use as they enter into the workforce and as they embark and are able to hopefully apply further design thinking and design process methodology to the challenges that they'll face, with greater empathy, with an eye to inclusion and diversity. So I want to tell you quickly at this point about a particular project that was built around the Design for All challenge from Rolla T's class in Canada at All Saints High School. So in this project, they partnered with a local veterinary clinic to understand the challenges that a vet at that clinic would face, and the challenges that animal coming in for care might experience. So they brought in a community member who works at the Ottawa Humane Society. The students began to ask questions. They started to identify issues and began to solve particular challenges that this veterinary clinic and the Humane Society was experiencing on the day-to-day. What they specifically looked at, and what we have here for what we have in this this picture here, is a solution for tangled IV lines that dogs would be equipped with and using while they're receiving care. And as you can imagine, it's very easy for them to get tangled up as the dogs move around, especially in that setting they're not feeling comfortable. So the students looked at how they could use the HP Learning Studio equipment from the HP Sprout and the Dremel 3D printer to build out a series of prototypes. In this case, the students took inspiration from things that they're probably, and we're all familiar with, and that's the shape of an Oreo cookie. And you look at the mock-up here, you'll see the sandwich of the design here. And they then both designed and then subsequently printed a device that holds an IV line in place and mitigates the chance for it to get tangled as the dog or other animal would move around. And the beauty of this example and of this product and of the way of thinking is that they can be used in a clinical setting. They can go from the classroom, from a conversation that students will have with a community member, through to prototyping, tweaking, and then production, all within the HP Learning Studios environment. And now we're able to then share it and tell you about it here, continuing the loop of the design process. Hopefully more tweaks and examples will get improvements will be made even as you hear about it now. So there have been a number of great successful Digital Promise Global Challenges that were supported through the HP Learning Studios. I'll share some of those with you. There's been high levels, as you can imagine, of student engagement beyond the classroom. So not just examples coming from teachers and from classes, those 5 locations across the country that have learning studios, but some other really interesting examples, a couple of conferences and maker challenges that took place in this school year as well. So again, looking at the All Saints High School in Canada and the team there, 2 really inspiring responses to the Design for All challenge. The first being on the left-hand side there, a designed utensil for residents of a local retirement home. These utensils were designed to make it easier for residents who experience hand tremors to eat without spilling food. So, as you can imagine, putting their fingers into the 2 finger holes there and having a stronger grip that mitigates tremor movement as they will eat. The utensils were designed in Tinkercad, and then they were fully printed on the Learning Studios on the HP, or designed on the HP Sprout, and then printed on the Dremel 3D printers, and then put into place at the senior citizens home, so that we can have those residents can continue to care for themselves and have a sense of self-worth and ability to feel whole through eating in that way. The other one on the right-hand side there is a device that the students created for an autistic peer, for them to be able to more accurately and easily express their needs. So in this case, a very simple box that they've labeled with cards for particular specific needs that the student might have, and then they can just press the card that they're looking to communicate to their classmates, to their teacher. So when you push on the card, it triggers a unique sound, a different one for each card, and then the laptop that's attached to this device makes the sound, and the student's able to communicate in that way. The ability for the students in this case to identify a challenge within their own classroom, for them to think about how can they create a solution that respects that individual, respects their needs, using the HP Learning Studios, the Design for All sort of approach and inclusivity and accessibility is really inspiring and exciting to know that they were thinking about others and not just a external opportunity as well. In Mississauga, in the Peel region, the students at Fallingbrook Middle School have a very diverse student body with a number of challenges and opportunities that they experience as being a diverse group and at the middle school age. And so using the HP Learning Studios and the design software on the HP Sprout and their ability to very easily create digital designs and then have printed off and distributed around the school, created a series of posters that they took data about their school, various stats and information that they had about the student body, and lined it up against some of the mental health care and the challenges that they can often be hiding or covering over, be it popularity, success, sort of the facade may not tell the whole story, and encouraging students to reach out and to communicate and to be not feeling isolated or alone, but part of a community that cares for them and wants to support them. So these posters were again created on the HP Sprout and then spread around the school as well. So you guys can imagine the opportunity is apparent to students from the word go when the learning studios are presented to them, when they're able to see the idea that is in their head become reality on screen and in printed object. It can make the whole day fly by. It can feel like a quick period when hours have passed. And we see that time and time again when students use and interact with the learning studios, with the challenge-based learning, with the Design for All challenges. They want to keep going. They don't want to end. Which brings us outside of the classroom too, and the opportunity that some students have had to participate in some extracurricular promotion of their work. So my colleague Derek Tangretti and one of his prior students were able to give the keynote at the Synex conference in October of 2017, sharing the value and the approach and the benefits that have come out of the HP Learning Studios, and being able to really celebrate the enthusiasm and the energy and the benefit that's had to Derek's former classmate in her school as well. And I've had an opportunity to work with Derek and Val at some other events and know that the enthusiasm there for design, for creativity, for sharing her knowledge around again design thinking, coding, accessible technology is very it's addictive and it's contagious. So knowing that she was able to be a part of that presentation with Derek, I know it had a very impactful benefit. Another way that the students were able to experience the HP Learning Studios this year was at the Connect conference in Niagara in April of this year. As part of the conference, we conducted a maker challenge, and we invited schools from across the Ontario to compete to win a chance to send a delegation to Niagara and to be on display, so to speak, or to participate in a challenge on the trade show floor. And so walking you through what we created here for those 2 days was essentially a full learning studio setup. And so 2 different schools sent 2 teams each day, and the teams would arrive in the morning, and they were presented with their challenge for the day. They were divided into, again, 2 teams and given the challenge, and then asked to go off and follow the design process, use the technology, use the resources available to them, and come up with a solution. And so on the first day, we had some incredibly enthusiastic grade 6, 7 students come and just dive right into it. I was helping to facilitate the day with the students and show up around 9:30 and say, okay, let's chat about what we have here. They said, no, we just want to get right into it. We're excited about this. We understand the technology. We know what we can do with this. Let's let us to brainstorm and to experiment. So I backed off and encouraged them to just continue then. And so that day, the students spent the morning, the first couple of hours, coming up with their solutions, their prototypes, their ideas, each using a HP Sprout, and they had the Dremel 3D printer, using the software capabilities of the devices, and some, as you can see from these photos, some of the physical objects as well. And then in the afternoon, they presented their ideas to the people participating in the trade show. And having shown up in the morning with not a particular knowledge of what they were going to work on, it was incredible to see how far they got and how quickly. The technology didn't produce a barrier for them. It didn't become something that they had to fit their ideas into, but just naturally supported their creative expression, their passion for design for all, for creating inclusive communities. And both teams on the first day created some amazing projects. the one in the middle there, the photo was around water quality and how can we improve or evaluate the water quality. And if you look at the map on the bottom, you can make out looking at some water quality issues we have even in our own backyard in Ontario, in fairly populated parts of southwestern and southern Ontario. And so they were really passionate about communicating that and addressing the challenge. And then the second group, the photo on the far right there, was looking at how can we create inclusive fonts and language and communication for both sighted and non-sighted people. So how are we bringing them closer together rather than driving us further apart? So looking at typical text as well as Braille, and is there a combination of those two communication platforms that respects both sides as well too? So in the afternoon, the students had to pitch their idea to the trade show attendees and then ask them to vote for which of the ideas they liked best. And then the students who had won the most votes, paper ballots as well as social media, were sent home with an HP Sprocket photo printer as well too. Incredibly, there were students who did not know people at the trade show, but were going out into the hallways, into the space between, into the lane between, and pulling people in because they were so passionate and so excited to share the solution that they had developed, to share the technology that was enabling them to think this way and to present their ideas. In fact, some students who would normally at their own school, and their teacher shared with us, would be incredibly shy to the point of nonverbal, were out there, putting themselves out there, freely communicating with people, and the technology had just removed the barrier or their previous fears or worries to a point to making them comfortable enough to talk to complete strangers about their ideas. The second day, another batch of students who at the high school level got into more details around pieces of hardware and technologies for assistive use of mice and other input devices for computers. So using the 3D printers to print off prototypes that would attach on to the devices so that it'd be easier to hold. Similar to the utensils that Rolla T's class had done as well too. And same level of enthusiasm, level of eagerness just to dive into the technology that supported their visions. What was in their head, were able to turn into digital versions quickly and easily, and then to be shared out to the audience as well too. And then that evening at Connect as well too, my colleague Derek Tangretti had an opportunity to really share how the HP Learning Studios and the framework of the challenge-based learning and the software, the technology, and all working together holistically was enabling deeper educational impacts and helping his previous classrooms and the groups that he's worked with across the country to realize more of their ideas, and again bridging that digital skills gap. And so Derek shared a little bit of that at dinner that night. So there's lots happening, and there's lots more going to be happening with the learning studios and with the platforms, the hardware and the software, as well as ongoing education, training, and resources. So HP is investing more in education. They're eager to hear from you about how they can do that more and deeper and better. HP and Fair Chance Learning are continuing to enhance our partnership to deliver more of this. We're beginning to increase our role around the learning studios and other platforms, both across Canada as well as globally. So you can look forward to more learning opportunities, more ways to connect the HP Learning Studios to authentic learning experiences that we hope will make an impact in both your local area and then connecting you to have an impact in global communities as well too, leveraging emerging technologies, software platforms, communities of practice, and knowledge sharing that is beyond your four walls of your school, beyond the geographic limitations of even boards, and helping you to connect more globally. So FCL, Fair Chance Learning, HP, we're working closely to build deeper and greater learning experiences for you as educators, for community leaders, to push forward in your understanding of things that we even haven't talked about now. So looking at mixed reality, deepening our knowledge around computational thinking. How does coding and making fit together so that the visions, again, we talk about this a lot, the visions in our head, the enthusiasms we have about solving everyday challenges, making life more accessible, more inclusive, how we're doing that through the learning studios and other platforms. Yep. So we're committed as partners, Fair Chance and HP, to support you as a community of learners, help you to foster deeper learning opportunities for your students and your communities more broadly. So I hope that you'll continue to stay connected with us over the summer and throughout the following school year. We hope you'll follow us on social media, FCL EDU, as well as HP Canada. If you want to join this conversation, provide comments, feedbacks, ideas, what are you excited about in terms of the learning studios? What opportunities does this wrap up remind you of or spark for you to share? Tag that with the hashtag HP Canada EDU. Join the conversation. Look over some of the work that's been done. And again, continue to share how you plan to be connected so that we can better serve and connect with you in the year ahead. So thank you for sticking with us now, and I'm excited that of the opportunities we've shared and more to come.